Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and you should have already noticed that there's already a little bit of a difference in terms of this intro. I'm actually doing this on a different camera now, so just got myself a DJI Pocket 3 recently. Hopefully I can kind of use it in terms of improving how I do my videos from now on, so maybe two different angles at the same time, as well as the fact is I'm trying to see if I can do more like live streaming. It'd be cool to kind of talk to you guys live, so hopefully I can do that with two cameras. Maybe I need a third, maybe I'll use my phone, and then I can help give you guys a little bit more of like different angle views in terms of doing that kind of live stream. Of course, please make sure to like and subscribe to this channel, as it will help this channel grow to be able to get me to the point where I can do like a lot more stuff. And of course, join the Discord channel, because the Discord channel is where I can communicate very live, as well as it's going to be nice to have like a nice community. Now, I have to thank Unikeys because they sent me out so many different switches, and today I'm bringing you guys another Wingtree switch. The last one was really cool. It was like a kind of homage to the MX Blacks from Wingtree. Now this is going to be their own tactile switch, and it seems like they're an up-and-coming brand with really cool stuff. And also, this is so much value. Like, you get a box and you also get another box inside just to keep the switches. So something really cool that they do. We're gonna have to take a look and see the information on the switch, but of course, please make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. So let's take a look at the Wingtree Yunie tactile switch. Now, I have to admit that Wingtree is really going to be one of your like really bang for buck switch brand from what I've noticed so far. Right, they give you this really nice box, and they also give you a actual holder for these switches, which is awesome. And you can actually, change it out with other switches or put them together. You can, I think, hold about 100 something switches in there. Now, this is a tactile version of the Wingtree, and I think it's quite interesting. The thing is that it's got this blue look to it, so I don't know how it's going to be like for the backlighting. It does have a really low travel though, and overall we're going to just see what the P bump is like. But of course, I changed out the mic, so hopefully these new sound tests is really good. So, do you guys see here in my hands? Let me just move it a little bit closer for you guys. This is the Wingtree tactile switch. And as you can see, this is completely different than what we were looking at before with their black, and where the black was like the MX Blacks. This is quite nice. It's not too light of a tactile feel, so you get a pretty decent, say medium tactile bump. So if, for example, the HMX Firecrackers was like a speed bump where you were going really fast above the speed limit, like say it's supposed to be a 30-kilometer zone and you were going about 80, like that kind of bump, this is like you're going 50 in a 30-kilometer zone with a speed bump. That's the kind of tactile feel it has. It's not as heavy, but it is still very prominent. It's still I'd say medium profile switch in terms of like the sound wise. It's not like super clacky, but it's not talky as well. And yeah, I think it's quite nice. I think what they're doing is quite interesting. I actually really appreciate it. And the fact is their switches are quite decent stock. And in general, a lot of good value for what you're getting with it. As you guys saw with like the, box and everything. Yeah, definitely see why the Switch is really up and coming. And I heard they're doing something really cool soon with like a custom Switch. So I hope I can try that out as well. But let's go in and open it up. And of course, do a stem mobile test and see how this backlighting is. So let's go right into that. Now, let's take a look at the information of the Switch again, just so you guys can get a little bit of a reminder. And the thing I noticed with it is that it does have a really decent bump. So the P bump on this tactile is actually quite strong. You will get a nice tactile bump if you are one that's looking for something that's a little bit more in terms of that tactile feel. And let's look at the travel distance. So we got 18 millimeters down to 14.8, which matches up with the 3.2 millimeter travel. And the second time and the third time I measured it, actually was going 14.7. So it's going to be around the 3.2 to 3.3 millimeter travel distance in total. So the bump right there, as you can see there, is actually starts right at the top, and then you do have a little bit of travel distance after the bump. So it's not like it goes straight from the bump to the end, like for example the Type R switches. This one actually has a little bit of the travel after the bump actually is done, and then it hits the bottom of the switch. So it's similar to the Type R's a little bit, but not too much. But let's hear the switch itself. So the Switch is going to be a medium-like sound, depending of course on your build, right? I think it is closer to clacky, but it's like a marbly depending on like if you have a lot of foam or if you don't have any foam at all, then it will come out a little bit clackier. Now, the stock lubing on these, so actually I accidentally dropped the stem, so sorry about the little bit messy stem right there, but overall, the stock lube is not too bad. It's not the greatest stock lubing, I have to admit. And my apologies that it's having a little bit hard time to really focus there on the camera. But you can see that the stock lubing is pretty decently done. Now, would I suggest that you clean this off completely and then hand lube it? No. I would say just spread out the lube that's already on the stem itself. And if required, also oil the springs, because it's going to help a lot with making the switch feel just a little bit smoother. But overall, the stock stem and the stock switch actually feels quite smooth, and it was done really decent. I was actually quite impressed with what they did with this specific switch. As you can see here, the pole is on the long side, so it's a long pole. To be fair, I think pretty much every switch nowadays is a long pole stem, and then it'll depend on how long it is, but this one's definitely on the longer side. Now, the spring itself, so it's a single stage spring, and in terms of the spring, it's going to be about 20 to 20.5 millimeter spring. That's kind of the measurement I was getting with it. So between 20.5 and a 21 millimeter spring distance in terms of this one, and it has that really nice like smooth feel to it in terms of going down, and it doesn't feel heavy at all. It's quite light as well, and I think I appreciated how this switch felt in terms of typing. It's not exactly the same as a Type R, but it was quite similar and getting close to it. One thing you'll also notice is the pins on the bottom of the housing is also actually lubed. So you can see it right there. You'll have some lube there, which this is kind of what HMX and KeyGeek does as well. And it really does provide a smoother feel in terms of the switches. So if you actually have a HMX or KeyGeek, you'll notice that the stems have like barely any lube. and then there's actually a lot of loop around that area, and this still makes their switches really, really smooth. Now, of course, we're gonna have to close it up, and then the next thing I want to, of course, go over with this specific switch is going to be the decibels and how loud this switch can be. So let me grab my actual decibel tester and give you guys an idea in terms of like super close up as well as distance in terms of the loudness. Now, just to keep in mind, we're going to try to set up like the decibels as a standalone, so anywhere between like 30 to 35, and then once you are hitting these switches, you're getting to the 70 decibels really easily. It is quite loud of a switch. Even in person, I felt like they were pretty loud, but they're not like super crazy loud. So 70 decibels is, I would say, on the louder side of switches, but not like crazy loud. So this is something to keep in mind. And overall, when you're at your desk or if you're in an office space, this might be too loud to be used in the office. Now, the next thing we want to take a look at is going to be like the feel of it. So as you can see that the tactile bump is quite heavy, and it's on from the top all the way down, and then you actually get a quite heavy bump. As I was mentioning, it's not as heavy as the HMX firecrackers, which really feels like you're going like 80 kilometers an hour over a speed bump. This one's more like a 50 kilometers an hour, so you do feel that bump, and it's quite decent in terms of like the operating force, not too heavy either. Now, going to the stem wobble test, on the top end you do get a little bit of that stem wobbling. So on the top end you will get that movement. Once you press it down, you actually get a pretty decent amount of stem wobble. So that's not a great thing. I think that overall they probably should have done a little bit more work in making sure the stem wobble wasn't there, but even with the key down there, you can actually see a lot of movement. Yeah, so if you are someone who doesn't like stem wobble, unfortunately this has a lot, and this is not good for the switch, and not a lot of people will like that. The next thing is going to be the backlighting test, and one thing I already noticed with the switch is that yes, so the color of the housing does affect the lighting. You can actually kind of see it through the camera here, where you'll see the bluish hue there, and the other switches that are more white is going to be the rise switches. Yeah, the Wingtree does affect the lighting a little bit. It's not like a crazy amount of effect, so that's why it's hard to tell in camera. But when you do look at it in person, you can actually see the bigger difference, where the blue lighting comes out heavily with the Wingtree, while the rise switches that are like just a transparent white actually does have a white color to it. Though the lighting is going to be a little bit blue in total in general, but yeah, that's what you get. Now, this is going to be the spreadsheet I was working on, so I'm still working on it. As you can see here, like in terms of the hertz area, where like the tone of the switch, it's a little bit higher pitched than the Guns N' Roses from Keybay, and as you know, the Keybay switches for the Guns N' Roses is going to be on the medium side. It's like between clacky or thocky, depending on the type of build you do, like foamed or non-foamed. Same thing kind of goes with this one, where if you have a lot of foam, you're going to get like more of a marbly sound, but it's still going to be on the higher pitch side compared to the Guns N' Roses, but it's still clacky kind of when you have a foamless board. Now overall, you can grab these Wingtrees at Unikeys. You can use my discount code Mikey, get 7% off. Overall, I think that these switches are quite interesting with the tactile feel to them. I actually quite like the tactile feel in this one because it's not as heavy as the firecrackers, but I do really like the firecrackers because they're interesting. Overall though, the stem wobble, some people really are not going to like it. I really hope this video helped you guys in terms of seeing if this Wingtree switch is going to be one for you. I really think that they provide a lot of good value, and these switches are quite nice, especially like they're really smooth and they provide you that extra box just to hold your switches after. Super cool things that they're doing, and I heard that they're bringing even cooler things in the future, so really excited to try out those ones as well. Of course, check out Unikeys. I'll have a code for you guys, code Mikey, where you can save 7% on their site. They have so many different switches available and like a huge lineup of them. And of course, come check out our Discord channel, because that's where, you know, I'll have a lot of people just like hanging out, asking questions, and everyone's really friendly. So it'd be really cool to have you guys there. And of course, check out the other videos I got, and I hope to catch you guys next time.